El Vélez, el Vélez, el Vélez. El fenómeno que todos quieren ser. El chamaquito que no pueden entender.
How we doing, guys? Welcome to episode 78 of El Boricua y Parcero podcast. We are here on video for the first time. Super excited. I know that it looked kind of... We'll work on the quality and everything like that. We're still kind of getting situated here with the green screen and how to work things and lighting and stuff like that. But this is how it's going to be now. You guys are going to get it in audio as well, but you guys are going to get it on YouTube, on video. I'm excited. Starting off, by the way, let's give us a round of applause. Let's laugh a little bit. Let's give us a round of applause. You know what I'm saying? We made it to video. It's about time, right? I know. 78 episodes it took. I get it. Okay, I get it. But let's get down to business, all right? Let's get down to business. The new name is going to be The Exec Talk. I have logo. I have making intros, doing all that. I want to thank you all for the support. And let's get rolling, episode 78. So a lot of big news came down today. Let's start with Mike Macdonald, new head coach for the from Baltimore to Seattle. What I think about this hire, I don't know why they would go with this hire. Yes, young, very young, 36 years old, youngest coach in the NFL now. But a defensive mind. And I'm not understanding why the two teams that we're going to talk about that filled the last two vacancies for the coaching are two defensive minds. One's a little older, and we all know who he is. Mike Macdonald came from Michigan, then from Michigan went from Harbaugh to Baltimore, built a historic defense in Baltimore this past year, and took them all the way to the AFC Championship game. However, the way that the NFL is getting structured and is getting, look at the playoffs this year. All but 3 coaches were defensive coaches. All but 3. DeMeco Ryans, Mike Tomlin, and you can throw Harbaugh in there if you want. But that's it. Everybody else, McCarthy, McDaniels, Andy Reid, LaFleur, McVay, Shanahan, they're all offensive players. Offensive coaches. So it kind of leaves me thinking a little bit, why would Seattle, going from Pete Carroll, which is a predominantly, I don't want to say defensive, but more hard-nosed coach, going to a defensive coach like Mike Macdonald. Now, I understand going young, but at the same time, because you're in a division with San Francisco, you're in a division with Arizona. Gannon is a defensive guy, but he has K1. And you're in a division with I always forget that third team. San Francisco. Oh, the Rams with McVay. So that to me tells me that you're already on the back foot. So yes, you have good defensive personnel. I'm not gonna lie. You have Devon Witherspoon, Quandre Diggs, Tariq Woolen, Bobby Wagner, even though he's getting, to retirement age at this point in the NFL. Boe Mafe, Taylor. So I get that. But at the same time, you have JSN, DK, Kenneth Walker, Tyler Lockett, Noah Fant, Charbonnet. All you need, really, you have 2 good rookie, it's going to be third-year tackles at this point, Abraham Lucas. And I forgot the guy on the other side. But at this point, you should go offense. You should lean into offense. You have offensive weaponry that can score a lot of points. If you're going to lean on the defense, you better build a defense that holds people to under 20. And you did that in the Ravens, but you don't have the same type of caliber players here. Now, as for the hire itself, it shows a little bit about the NFL. The next guy we're going to talk about was actually supposed to be the guy here. So it's kind of like a bad joke. One thought was going to Seattle, back to Seattle, that being Dan Quinn. He went to the Commanders. He got hired by the Commanders. So what do I think about that hire? Well, it's an older hire, but considering what they have on the offensive side of the ball and considering the shortcomings that they have on the defensive side of the ball, it does not make sense to me why you should go defense. You have Dayball in your division. He's offensive minded. McCarthy is offensive minded. And Sirianni is offensive minded. I don't understand why you would put yourself as an organization, Magic Johnson, Josh Ayers, as in a detriment because you don't have two pass rushers. You gave up Chase Young, you gave up Montez Sweat to the Bears and Chase Young to the 49ers, and at the same time, your back end is horrible. You guys were the worst passing defense in the league. Why would you hire a defensive coach? Now you might say, "Yo, but Velez, like, maybe they rather build the defensive side of the ball." Okay, that's fine, but if you look at the offensive weaponry, you're kind of putting yourself at a disadvantage by not giving yourself an offensive mind, because the two biggest disadvantages that the NFL has found out about hiring defensive coaches is that if you do well, if you go to the playoffs, make a deep playoff run, or even win the Super Bowl, your offensive coordinator, you will lose him. You will lose him to a head coaching job. It's happened many times before, and at least for McShanahan and Andy Reid and even MCDC to some extent, if he were to lose somebody, the offensive system is already there. You get what I'm saying? Like, if D'Amico loses Bobby Slowick, there's no other Bobby Slowicks just hanging around. That's very tough to find. Now, Bobby's staying, which is good for him. Ben Johnson is staying, which is good for MCDC. They didn't get jobs, which is weird. We'll talk about the vacancies not the vacancies, but the people that got left out in the outside. It's kind of interesting to look at the candidates that got left out and also some legends that got left out, which is crazy in my eyes. Like, that's how the NFL is moving to a younger league in coaching, and they're changing their hiring practices. When you look at a guy like Bill Belichick being left out, when you look at a guy like Mike Vrabel, which is weird. Mike Vrabel is probably the weirdest being left out. He's a really good coach. If you're going to fault him for this past year, Tannehill went down. He had to deal with the rookie quarterback in Will Levis. He couldn't use D-Hop that much, or didn't want to or something. Derrick Henry was hurt and wasn't himself until the very end of the season. And his defense wasn't complete. And he didn't have an offensive line. So and receiver-wise, besides D-Hop, there's really nobody else there. So if I think that he should be blamed for that, I don't think so. I don't think he should be blamed for that. I think it was a mistake to let him go, but him and the GM didn't see eye to eye. The GM is stupid because he was the guy that traded away A.J. Brown in the middle of the draft night, and then you saw MCDC be, absolutely disgusted. When he found out, he was like, what? We traded A.J. Brown? And then the downhill spirals happened. Remember, this guy took the Tennessee Titans to the AFC Championship game 2 years ago. So, very surprising. He probably waits till next year or becomes an advisor somewhere. Bill Belichick needs 15 more wins, but nobody wants a coach that's 72 years old. Pete Carroll's a legendary coach, one of the only coaches to ever get a national championship and a Super Bowl championship, went to 2 winning seasons, but he's 73. So what I think is that most GMs and most owners want young coaches to build a culture there in order to be able to keep their coach for the long term and not having to always look for a replacement for an old coach. Now, do I think it's a good thing? I think Bill Belichick should have gotten a job for those teams that are actually horrible, for a Carolina, Commanders, even the Saints to some extent. I think that they should have kind of kicked the tires on him. Atlanta for sure, but at the same time, I understand the thinking behind the GMs and the owners saying, hey, no, I want a culture setter that will be here for, if he's good, I want him here 10, 20, 15, 20 years. So I get the young hires. Back to the Commanders, I don't know what Dan Quinn brings defensively when he has no personnel. He's going to have to go into this draft and into free agency, find himself 2 starting and studs. He has to find 2 studs at the edge because he let go of Montez Sweat and they let go of Chase Young. You need the whole back end. Emmanuel Forbes didn't have a good rookie year, so you have to piece it together again. You know, I think that having Scary Terry, Jahan Dotson, Curtis Samuel, Brian Robinson Jr., you know, when you have those cats, you got to somehow, some way. And I don't know if you're going Sam Howell. I don't know if you guys should go maybe J.J. McCarthy, Bo Nix, maybe try to move up in the draft and try to go bold and Jaden Daniels, or even try to go get a Drake May. You know, it's a very hard thing to look at right now, but I don't think that Dan Quinn, almost 60 years old, is your best bet. And, you know, I think Josh Harris and Magic Johnson kind of made a mistake there. But moving into the fact that we were talking about those coaches that got left out, right? So I have it here in my bookmarks in Twitter. When you look at the people that got hired, right? So everybody that got hired. Chargers got Jim Harbaugh, great hire. Culture setter, toughness, grit, is going to know what players he wants in the building, and he's going to definitely groom Justin Herbert into that dog that everybody thinks he is, and that defense is full of dogs as well, and I think he'll bring that out of them. Joey Bosa and Derwin James and Khalil Mack. Raiders, Antonio Pierce. Yeah, they needed to. Why? Because that's what the players wanted. Max Crosby, Devontae Adams, you know, he had a pretty good rapport with Aiden O'Connell. He was the one that put him to start. So, you know, I think that's a great hire. Supposedly they're talking to Chip Kelly for being in the OC. That would be interesting to bring back Chip Kelly into the NFL. Patriots, Gerard Mayo. He'd been getting groomed for years. He'd been getting groomed for like 2 years in the staff, and he was going to always he was chosen as to be the heir apparent. So, you know, is it going to be a good hire? I think so. I saw him play at linebacker for those Patriots teams. They respect him. Tom Brady respected him. You know, everybody that talks about him respects him. So I expect that to be a very, very good hire. Titans, Brian Callahan. Like I said, you go from Vrabel, which you shouldn't have gotten rid of, to Brian Callahan that did wonders with Joe Burrow and with Jake Browning this past year. I understand the hire. I like it because it's an offensive guy but his success is going to literally be on the shoulders of Will Levis. If he gets fired within 2 years, it's because Will Levis didn't work out. If he stays for 10, it's because Will Levis became a franchise quarterback. That's it. That's what his career is riding on right now. That's what this opportunity is riding on. Panthers, Dave Canales did a great job with Baker Mayfield in the Buccaneers this year. Now, you wanted a really young guy. He came off only 1 year of OC, so that might be a little tough being a coach, having to take all that responsibility after only being an OC for 1 year. But I think that it's good because a young guy to pair up with Bryce Young. Now, they need to build that roster. I mean, that's the first thing Dave has to look at, is that he has to build that roster. He has to find a number one receiver. He has to find a left tackle. He has to find, you know, he has Brian Burns. He has J.C. Horn on the other side and Luvu. But on the offensive side, you cannot roll out there with Adam Thielen at your one and Miles Sanders as your number one running back. It just can't happen. So there's a lot of things to do there, but I like the hire because it's an offensive hire for Bryce Young, and it's honestly just going to be on Bryce Young's back, just like Will Levis for Tennessee, if Dave Canales works as a head coach. Defense now. Falcons go back to Raheem Morris. former head coach, hasn't coached in a while, was with the Rams during the Super Bowl run with Jalen Ramsey, with Aaron Donald. He's going to have to build that defense. They don't have edge rushers. They don't really have linebackers. They have two guys, AJ Terrell, CB1, on most years, and then you have a legit safety in Jesse Bates. That's it. That's all you got. You don't got nothing else. Like zero. You have nothing else. That's what you're hoping for. Just you're riding, and then on top of that, you need to find a quarterback because it's not going to be Desmond Ridder. It's not going to be Taylor Heineke. And you need to find an offensive coordinator that will, at the very least, understand that Kyle Pitts, Drake London, and Bijan Robinson are on the team. At the very least. You can't have a guy that, just like Arthur Smith, which we're going to talk about in a little bit, didn't use him at all and was using Jonnu Smith and Cordell Patterson and Tyler Algier. And, you can't do that. You can't. It's just not viable for where those draft resources were taken at 4 overall, at 10 overall, and at 8 overall. You can't do that. That's it's not just coaching malpractice, but it's draft malpractice at that point if you're not going to use them, and talent use malpractice. For the Seahawks, Mike Macdonald, we talked about him. Defensive guy, young guy, 36 years old, will be the youngest coach in the NFL. Like I said, he has to find an OC. Is it going to be Shane Waldron? I think it is. I believe it's Shane Waldron. But you got to find a quarterback because I don't think Geno is the answer. So I believe that they should look at maybe trading up or a Bo Nix or a Michael Penix if he drops in the draft. I think that would be way better for them to have and then maybe give Geno one more year, and then finally you move on to the new cat, and you have JSN with him, DK with him. Tyler might be getting older, but maybe you draft another receiver there for him, maybe like an Xavier Worthy or AD Mitchell, whoever's there. Maybe maybe you get a Jatavion Sanders at tight end. There's a lot of possibilities there, but they also need edge rushers. Boyd Maffe's good, Taylor's good, but you need a legit dude that can get you 10, 12, 13 sacks a year when you have Frank Clark and Cliff Averill and stuff like that, Martellus Bennett, And then the Commanders got Dan Quinn. It's very interesting to me, the people that did get left out, because they were getting talked about for the last, couple of years. I mean, you look at guys that did, Bill got left out. Pete got left out. We talked about him. We talked about Mike Vrabel getting left out, the weird one. Aaron Glenn was getting talked about last year, got super talked about this year, and didn't get a job. Went back to Detroit trying to get a Super Bowl next year. And so did Ben Johnson. Got talked about last year and got super talked about this year. Had multiple interviews with multiple teams. And he went back to Detroit with MCDC to try to capture a Lombardi next year. So that whole staff is good. That whole staff is back together. I'm guessing Lombardi is ecstatic about it. I would be too, because those are two really, really good coordinators. Anthony Weaver, Eric Bieniemy, been 3-4 years ever since he was in Kansas City that he'd been rumored. Some people thought that he was going into the Commanders role right after Ron Rivera got let go. That's not the case. Is he going to stay as the offensive coordinator? We'll see. Edgio Evero and Mike Kafka. Now, let's go to other news. For the Pittsburgh Steelers, OC, they hired Arthur Smith. Yes. No. Both of them. Why? Very simple. You're the Steelers. So why is it a yes? Running, the last 3 years, he's had top 3 running games ever since he was the OC at Tennessee with Derrick Henry. But you saw what he did with weapons. and he has George Pickens and Deontay Johnson and Jalen Warren and Najee. Najee's not so much of a weapon to me, but, Najee is going to be the tough yards runner, and that's basically why they got him. Is it going to be good? It's going to be based on the success of Kenny Pickett this next year. Kenny Pickett right now is thinking like this for next year. He is deathly scared because Mike Tomlin said next year is a crucial year for Kenny Pickett. You know what crucial year for Kenny Pickett means? He has one shot. One more shot. That's it. If he F's up next year and doesn't provide wins and doesn't, provide explosive plays and doesn't take them at least to the playoffs and maybe get a playoff win, this team is looking for a quarterback next year. Whether that's in free agency or they draft on this upcoming draft to get one of the late bloomers or somebody that they think that they I don't see this happening. I think they would take him higher, but maybe J.J. McCarthy, maybe a Bo Nix, maybe Michael Penix drops. This is all going to depend on the combine, but Arthur Smith is, he's better than the guy that everybody wanted fired, and they finally fired him. But at the same time, this guy this past year had weapons and did not use them effectively, and he had mismanagement of talent, which is one of the worst things to have, especially as a coach, on your watch. So I don't think that's good. A couple more news before we get into the NBA heavy. Lewis Hamilton. So I love F1, and we're gonna love F1 on this channel and this podcast. For you guys that don't know, I love racing. Every type of racing. I said this last pod. So Lewis Hamilton announced today that he will be leaving AMG Mercedes F1 team for Ferrari, the prancing horse, Scuderia Red, the most legendary brand in Formula One, and the oldest and the winningest. And I have two things to say about this. One, super surprised. I thought he was going to stay at Mercedes. He had won 7 championships there, or 6 if you want to count the McLaren Mercedes, but it's still Mercedes. He has 7 championships. He's tied with Michael Schumacher for most all time. He's trying to get that 8th. Now, he's going 2025, so that means Mercedes this year, this is his last year, his swan song with the team. What I don't see is he needs to compete this year. That car cannot... First of all, I don't want to see Verstappen. Like, if I see Verstappen up 15 seconds on lap 10 of the Bahrain Grand Prix round 1, I'm already like this. Because, I don't want to see that. I need to see competitive racing in Formula One. Drive to Survive comes out at the end of the month, the new season. I know that it's going to be mostly Verstappen winning and stuff like that, but I like to see the storylines behind the scenes and what led to people changing seats and what teams did when they got bought out, like Alfa Romeo Sauber and stuff like that. But, for Lewis Hamilton to, at 44 years old, or I think he's 41, 39, something like that. He's close to his 40s. For him to go from his home team, the team that he's been at forever since he was a rookie at 17 years old and captured a championship, to go to the most storied, winningest, just recognizable, loved brand in the history of Formula One, I think that it's because of two things. He's tired of Mercedes, wants to go to a different car, wants to see a different team, and Schumacher, Michael, the GOAT, the guy that's recognized as the GOAT to this day, although I think Lewis is pretty close, and if he wins one more, he will be the GOAT. He won his 5 of his championships. He won them at Ferrari, 2 at Benetton, 5 at Ferrari. And I think he just wants to follow his idol's footsteps. It's his favorite driver. It's always been. And I think that for him to follow the footsteps of many legends that have gone from McLaren to Ferrari, when you to look at Alan Prost and you look at Williams with Nigel Mansell going to Ferrari, you know, you understand why he would do that. I mean, I support him anywhere he goes. I love Lewis Hamilton. I've always liked him ever since he was, young in 2016. Actually, no. He won his first championship 2007, I believe. Around there. He's been in it for a while. He won 6 in a row from 2011 to 2019. He won 6 in a row. That's actually 8. One of them was Nico Rosberg, so it wasn't 6 in a row. He won 6 in that span. Now, I hope that this year he's competitive. I hope that they're fighting for podiums, and not even podiums. I hope they're fighting for wins. I hope they're fighting for the championship at the end, because if they're not, like, it's kind of like a sour taste at the end of a great run for him. And him going into the footsteps of Schumacher, I like it. At his age and what he's accomplished, I think it's only right to see him, in Scuderia Red at least once, at least a season or however many seasons he wants to race over there. But, it really surprising that Lewis Hamilton did that. But I think that he's just following in the footsteps of Michael Schumacher, or he got tired of the Mercedes team and wanted to see how it is somewhere else, and he's the guy that brings in the most money, is the most popular driver in the world, and seeing him in Scuderia Red is only going to bring even more money to Formula One and the sport. So, but shout out to Lewis. He has one more year with Mercedes. Is going to be like the GOAT run, like the swan song at the team. I hope that he wins a championship. It'd be nice for him to walk away with 8 championships with Mercedes and holding the GOAT status before he goes on to a post-GOAT career, basically, into Ferrari. But, Verstappen is there right now, and he's killing it. Yeah. Now, Joel Embiid is facing some real trouble. Okay? Facing some real trouble. Why? Because it just came down today that his medical staff found out that he had torn his meniscus. They're developing a treatment plan. They haven't said how much time he's gonna be out. Now, a torn meniscus usually, depending on how torn it is, it's a couple months. It's a couple months, and he was already looking at only being 5 games away from not being able to get the MVP, get All-NBA because of the 65-game minimum rule that was implemented by the NBA because of load management. So him complaining, Tyrese complaining about it. Tyrese Halliburton I can get because he was actually injured, but Embiid scoring 36 points a game, being the leading scorer in the NBA, I think 3 years in a row at this point, and being the lead getter for MVP at this point in the season, but missing so much. Like I said, 5 games, and they just found out that he has a torn meniscus. You're not getting the MVP, buddy. I'm sorry. You're not getting the MVP, and you say you won a championship, but you have a torn meniscus now, so your health is really in question for the playoffs. I believe that it's a fair rule, because they brought it upon themselves. And, of course, if we have a guy to blame or a person who started this and to blame him for sure, is Greg Popovich. He did it with, an old Tim Duncan. He did it with an old Manu, old Tony Parker, and he did it with a young Kawhi coming off a championship. Kawhi's knee, the phantom injury and everything. He sat out so long, did it again, did it at the Clippers, didn't play back-to-backs. And then that started spreading throughout the league. You had people like Kat doing it, AD. You had LeBron to some extent, even though he was injured a little bit. He was actually injured a lot. But when he sat out, But let's look at the past. Let's look at guys like Larry Bird. Let's look at guys like Magic, Charles Barkley, Jordan, Shaq. Like these guys averaged over 70 games played a season for their career. We're not talking about a season. We're talking about a career. You know, Jordan's close to 80 games averaged. Even when he was 40, he played 82 games with the Wizards. So, like, with no knees. So, to me, there's no excuse. If you're legit injured, like a John Morant, like a Julius Randle with the dislocation of his shoulder, you know, Tyrese with what he had, you know, okay, I can understand. But, like, the Sixers just got in trouble for telling the NBA that Joel was going to sit for some knee soreness or inflammation, and it came back like they did it wrong and they're going to get fined, you know, because they didn't do it the right way. So, like, do you really want to play, or you want to save yourself for the playoffs, Joel? And at the same time, if you do want to save yourself for the playoffs, you better perform, because you haven't performed the last couple of years. You've never gotten out of the second round except only against Kawhi when Kawhi hit the shot. And moreover on that, your style of play is really based on the foul. Like, you're leading the league in foul shots with 11 a game at the center position, which is insane. And you know what happens in the playoffs, and we're going to talk about it with the rest of the league when we go through the standings. But, you know, you have to understand that the whistle gets a lot tighter and a lot quieter in the playoffs. And that's what's cost you games and series these past few, in inclusion the injuries, these past few years. You get what I'm saying? So if Embiid misses, let's say he misses 20 more games with this meniscus tear, 15 more games, no MVP, no All-NBA. So those accolades, you know, so possibly a back-to-back MVP, another All-NBA team. So those accolades for the Hall of Fame get thrown out the window. Granted, you're still on a Hall of Fame path, but now you need the playoff success, and you have to be healthy. Have to be healthy. The East is not easy. It's not impossible, but it's not easy. And like I said, when we get to the standings, we're gonna get into it. So now Nicola's the top guy in the odds. He's at minus 125. You got Shea at plus 300, Luka at plus 500, Joel Embiid now at plus 2,500, Giannis at plus 700, and then once you get, you know, Tatum at plus 4,000 and Anthony Edwards plus 10,000, that's really it. Nikola is doing his thing, so, you know, I expect, barring an injury, barring some catastrophic kind of downfall in the season, looks like Nikola's going to win his third MVP, just skipping a year, and finally and really get his third MVP, which this year he probably deserve it. Although Shea is killing it right now, bro. Shea is killing it. So is Giannis. Another thing that we're going to get to right now that actually came down today, so we're going to go through it before we get to the NBA standings. The All-Stars, the NBA All-Stars. Eastern Conference, usual suspects. Giannis, Joel, Tyrese Halliburton is starting in the backcourt. Damian Lillard is starting in the backcourt. Now, there was contention. What about Jalen Brunson? Maybe he should start. They were tied, and the fan vote, you know, got Damian in. So that's how it works. And you got Jason Tatum starting, Jaylen Brown as a reserve, Donovan Mitchell as a reserve. We're all good so far. Jalen Brunson, deservedly. Bam, I don't know his numbers this year, but I guess he deserved it. Maybe that was the fan vote or maybe some coaches. Julius Randle, he's been playing well. Tyrese Maxey been playing well. And Paolo Banchero. Now, if we think about the East, who was left out? You could look at a guy like Franz, but Paulo got in. Jimmy hasn't had a season this year that is relatively all-star-ish, if we're being honest. I think they got it right. Maybe KP for Boston, but they got Tatum in. So the East is pretty good. The East is pretty good, and I'm happy for Paolo Banchero's second year in the league and already an all-star. That shows that his number one pick, he's just going to keep ascending, I believe, and become a real superstar in this league. LeBron for the West. KD for the West. Luka starting for the West. Shea starting for the West. And Nikola Jokic starting for the West. No problems. Absolutely no problems. Yeah, you might say, oh, what about Curry? You love Curry. Listen, I am enough of a basketball fan and a basketball fanatic to understand that Luka's averaging 33 and that Shea's averaging 31. Okay, they're playing better than Curry. Curry's been hurt a little bit. The team success has also not been good. These two guys, especially Shea, he's second in the West, leading the team second in the West. And Doncic, with his numbers, and he's in the play-in, I think that's okay. That's fine. Even though, they gave it to LeBron only averaging 25. But when you think about, I maybe would have put Kawhi there, to be honest, but I digress. Reserves, Kawhi needed to be there. He's been playing absolutely amazing. AD, got to give it to him. He's been playing consistently, playing well. Devin Booker's been playing well. Anthony Edwards, number one team in the West, the leading guy. He's a phenom. He's going to be a superstar in this league. He already is for me. I think he's that next two guard in the elk of the Dwayne Wades, Michael Jordans, and Kobe's for me. Steph Curry had to get in, of course. Paul George been playing great, and Karl Anthony Towns. So we got 2 Wolves and 2 Clips. I'm fine with that. 2 Lakers, 2 Suns, 1 Mavs, 1 OKC. And one Denver. Jamal hadn't had an all-star season like I thought he would. I'm fine with those. I'm fine with them. In the West, somebody maybe you got left out. I'm really thinking here, guys. Really thinking who could have gotten left out. Zion, but he's not having one of those crazy years. Kyrie, but he's hurt. You could look at a guy like J-Dub or even Chet. Maybe Jamal. Oh, no Sacramento Kings. No De'Aaron Fox, almost averaging 30, and no Domantas Sabonis. So if there's 2 snubs that you can look at in the West, I think those would be adequate. But, based on what I see here, I guess you can change, you have to change a guard for a guard. And you can't move Curry, you can't move Anthony Edwards, and you can't move Devin Booker. So Fox wouldn't really fit. And then Domantas, you can move Karl Anthony Towns, but they're first in the West. And he's having a really good season, so I have no problems. I have no problems at all. Like I said, maybe Kawhi start in front of LeBron, but the fans chose to make him captain and stuff, so no problems there. One baseball thing, Corbin Burns, the Cy Young winner, is heading to a stacked team in the Baltimore Orioles. They're going to add to that rotation with Gibson and Rodriguez and Kramer. I think it's a wonderful addition, especially to that young team with Rutschman and Gunnar Henderson. So I think that is a good addition. I think it'll make them way stronger at the top of the rotation and have that one guy that you can go to at a game 1 in a World Series, in an ALCS. So I think that that's a very, very, very good addition, and I think he's going to do great things for the Baltimore Orioles. Now, let's let's go to these standings. And I'm going to roast because there has to be some roasting done. Okay? First of all, Boston, let me set up for this. Boston is not a championship team. What I mean by that is that they can make it to the finals. They can make it to the finals. Like we could be like, oh yeah, they can make it to the finals. But they don't have the requisite amount of, how I say, scheme, smarts, and adjustment ability to win the finals against the Denver, against the Clippers, which I think are the two favorites in the West right now. If the Clippers stay healthy, I think that they're the favorites along with Denver to make it out of the West into the Western Conference Finals, and one of them goes into the finals. And they will be favored. What do I think about the Boston Celtics do or die, spray and pray from three, hope that we're efficient offense? I see the Houston Rockets with James Harden, the ones that missed 27 straight threes in a Game 6 against Golden State. That's what I see. Because I've seen the last few games against good. I'm talking about great competition. The Denver, when they lost at home, and they lost against the Clippers at home by a lot. You know, I think that Jason Tatum is not a championship winning. Let me really phrase this out so you guys don't kill me in the comments and everything. Jason Tatum, from what I've seen over his career, is not a championship winning number one option. He's a number one option for sure. All NBA, can take you to the finals, but championship winning number one option, I do not see it. He didn't do it against Curry. Curry bullied him at the number one option spot in the finals. If he gets there this year, he relies too much on the three. The team relies too much on the three. And it's going to come down to the health of Porzingis. Can Drew Holiday lock up like he's used to? Can Jaylen Brown go left even for a few possessions? A few. We're asking for a few. The last few postseasons have been like this. No, we're not going left. Same thing with Tatum. Tatum, are you not going to turn the ball over at the crucial times and average 8 turnovers a game? That's a bad joke at this point. So based on all that, I don't care that they're playing well. I don't. I know they're going to be the number one seed. They're up 5 games above Milwaukee right now. We're going to look at the standings a little bit later, but, I think they're going to sync up and cinch up that number one seed. Now, I just don't see it. I think that Milwaukee can beat them in somewhere along the way. I think the Knicks, if they get them right and they don't get them like super efficient from 3 and they really use their defense against them, I think that they can possibly create a series. 76ers if they're healthy with Joel. But even if they make it to the finals, there is no way in hell that they have enough to deal with Kawhi, PG, James Harden, Russell Westbrook, and that bench with Norman Powell, Russell Westbrook, Terrence Mann. Like I don't see it. And then Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray, KCP, Aaron Gordon, Braun, everybody coming off of that, Strother, everybody coming off of that bench. I don't see it. Denver's too in continuity. They're too together. The scheme is literally like, you can't stop Jokic. I don't think KP can. I don't think Jason Tatum can. Like, I just don't see it. So that's for the Boston Celtics. For the Milwaukee Bucks, it is scary hours right now. They lost to the 15-win Portland Trailblazers last night. That is not good. 15 win. They're the second team in the East. 15 win. I don't know what Doc Rivers is going to do about the defense. I don't know what, I don't know why it's taken Dame so long to get in sync with that offense. He's averaging like 25. He was averaging 32 last year. And I get it. He has to sacrifice a little bit for Giannis. But Giannis is averaging 31. And at this point, Dame could average 28, 29. You're seeing it with Tatum and Jaylen Brown, like 27, 28 each. You know, I don't see why it's so difficult for Dame to be in the offense. The only thing I can see is that Giannis has not given him the appropriate amount of room for him to be himself yet. And if that doesn't happen, they're going to see it ugly because Bobby Portis is not playing to his normal standard. Middleton is not playing to his normal standard. Lopez is not playing to his normal standard. Covington's not playing to his normal standard. Jay Crowder just came back. Like, you're not having the performances from the 3, 4, 5 options that enable you to try to catch up with Damian Lillard. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think Dame is having an inefficient season. It's kind of challenging for him to find his shot and his spots. And it's just a grind right now. And on the defensive end, they have zero perimeter defense. None. Dame gets cooked. Middleton gets cooked. Both are slow-footed. Like, Covington gets cooked. The only guy that could really defend is probably like Jay Crowder, and then everything falls on Giannis and Lopez. That's not going to fly. Now, the only saving grace for the Milwaukee Bucks for me in the playoffs is that Dame is going to turn it up. Dame is a prolific playoff performer. We've seen it before. And I know Giannis, if he's healthy, he's also a prolific playoff performer. So if there a way that they can completely obliterate teams scoring-wise, and then the defense just kind of holds on, or maybe gets better with the foul calls and stuff like that and the whistle being tighter, yes. But right now what I'm seeing is a number 2 team in the East that's 5 games back of Boston and is kind of teetering right now. They're, the Knicks are 1 game back, only 6 games back. They're like 9-1, I believe. Like, the Knicks are rolling right now. 9-1 with a 9-game winning streak in their last 10 games. OG Anunoby has been a godsend. Jaylen Brown has averaged 30 for the last 10 games. And their defense is relentless, and that's what they're going to hang their hat on, is that defensive side of the ball. Because Julius Randle with the hurt shoulder right now, and Jalen Brunson and OG Anunoby taking the reins on the offensive side, I think that it's enough to at least beat the 76ers, because if Joel is hurt in any capacity, I think the 76ers lose. And if we look at Cleveland right now, they're on a same type of heater. Cleveland's also 9-1, 3 games in a row won, and they just got Mobley and Darius Garland back yesterday. Now, you ask me, last year it was fool's gold. You saw what happened to the efficiency of Donovan Mitchell in the playoffs. Do I expect that to happen again? No, because I've seen Donovan Mitchell, like with the Utah Jazz, really explode in the playoffs. So I'm not worried about him. I think that he'll come back with a vengeance. What I'm worried about is the perimeter defense, because they're both 2 small guards, and Evan Mobley's offensive output. The defense I don't have to worry about with him and Jared Allen, but if they can't score inside, they will find themselves against the Knicks, against the Bucks, against the Boston, and they can't do anything. They can't do anything there. If Evan Mobley doesn't show an offensive bag, and we're talking about a Publix bag. We're not even talking about a Kyrie Louis Vuitton bag. We're talking about a Publix bag. Just a simple pivot, a little shot, maybe it's a banker, like something to show that you're a threat in the paint. You're not just a lob threat. It's going to be scary hours again for the Cleveland Cavaliers, and I don't think Donovan Mitchell will stay at that point, because there's no need to. It's seen it 2 years already. You haven't been able to get anywhere. You didn't get out of the first round last year against the Knicks, and then this year you're in the 4th seed again, and what are you going to do? You get what I'm saying? 5th seed is the 76ers. They've dropped off a little bit. 6.5 games back, only a half game back of those Knicks. With the Joel Embiid news of the meniscus, it's going to fall on Tyrese and Tobias, and I don't think that they can keep it up. I just don't think that they can keep it up. Now, can Tyrese go nuclear and just start averaging 30 points a game for all the games that Joel Embiid is gone? Yeah. And Tobias Harris, can he step up? Yeah. And can Kelly Oubre step up? Yeah. But it's not sustainable. It's not. It's not sustainable to do that. And if you ask me, to ask that much of them and then in the playoffs, maybe get Joel back. Or maybe get Joel back with like 15 games left and then reassess the offense back to Joel. And then you have to still worry about Joel trying to foul bait in the playoffs and where you're going to get your points from. Now, I do give him credit because Tyrese Maxey is not going to cause nearly as many problems as James Harden in the playoffs. I think he's going to score. I think he's going to be aggressive. I think he's going to be himself. But without Joel at 100%, can you count on him for those 2 months to try to get you those 16 wins? I just don't think so. 6th seed, we have the Indiana Pacers. They just got Tyrese Halliburton back, so now we get to see Tyrese Halliburton and Pascal Siakam. The first game was kind of teeter-totty. I'll wash that out. I think Tyrese has to get back in his rhythm for shooting. He's going to dime up like always. But it's going to come down to their defense. They allow so many points. So many. They only outscore their point differential right now is astonishing. It's 1.8 because they get 124.8, but they allow 122.6. And that is that's not sustainable in the playoffs because teams are going to, the whistle's going to get swallowed more, and the defense is stronger. So if they stop you and that offensive rating, we saw it with the Sacramento Kings last year. They went 7 with the then defending champions Golden State Warriors, but they couldn't avoid giving up too many points. There were a couple blowouts, and then there was a couple thrillers, but the lack of defense in the interior was what did them in, and that's what's going to do in the Indiana Pacers. You face a Knicks, you're not beating them. You're not. They're bigger than you. They're stronger than you. They're more tenacious than you at the defensive side of the ball. You're not going to beat a Boston. They're too long. You're maybe beat a Milwaukee, but I think with Dame and Giannis in playoff mode, I don't think that happens either. And Bobby Portis and Brook Lopez. So I see it kind of ugly for them. Even the 76ers team, with Joel, with the rim protection that he provides, I don't see how they can really, just outscore people. So it might be another year. But if Pascal really shores up that perimeter defense and takes care of that number one assignment, I think that maybe they have a shot of doing something in the playoffs. Not get to the championship, but scare somebody. Miami, we got to do something. We're 7th. We're not going nowhere. I don't think we're going anywhere. We have Triple J back for the last 2 games. We've lost. Jimmy, is it time to get rid of him? Yes. Where? Who? For what? For what? Who wants him? No one. No one. No one wants him. 33 years old, about to be 34, if not 34 already. Not a shot taker. More of a dirty, star, but won't take 20, 25 shots like you need a star to do. He's kind of old on the older side. Now, do I believe in Jimmy Butler in the playoffs? Playoff Jimmy? Yes. But at the same time, like I said, he gets tired throughout the playoffs. The efficiency goes down round by round. The shot making goes down. And that just going to put us back on the back foot again, waiting for Bam to score 25. Now, we're going to have Tyler. We're going to have Triple J. Is that going to make the difference? If we go up against a Dame and Giannis healthy, if we go up against a Joel and Tyrese and Tobias healthy, we can't score in the half court. Like look at our different. We're scoring 110.5, which is abysmal, and then we're giving up 111.6. So we're at 1.6 negative points differential. So our defense is not even getting us out of the hole. And we can't score on offense. We have Terry Rozier. We have Tyler Hero, Triple J, Jimmy Butler, Bam. And somehow, some way, we cannot score in the half court. I don't understand how that, when that's the number one skill right now in the NBA, scoring in the half court. You look at Luka, LeBron, Curry, Shea, Anthony Edwards. They can all score in the half court. The Nuggets are the best at it. The Clippers have one-on-one scores all around. You have Kawhi, you got PG, you got James Harden. Scoring in the half court is what allows you to have a great defense on the other side. Because if you score in the half court, that means the set defense you can put on the other side, run the zone that we run and all that, and cause the mismatches that we do. But if we are constantly chucking up last-second grenades at the rim, Tyler Hero throwing random floaters, Jimmy taking tough fadeaways, Bam taking 8-foot fadeaway jump shots for no reason instead of dunking, we're not getting anywhere. We're not going to beat anybody, and we're going to look at ugly. It's going to be ugly. Orlando is is actually tied with us at 11.5 games back in the 8th seed. They got Franz back. Paolo just got named an all-star like we went over. Now, can they get on a run again? I think him and Paolo can. Franz and Paolo can. And they could definitely try to get up 11.5 games back. They can get up all the way to 6. They're 1.5 games back of 6. Then Philly is 6.5 games back. That's a little much. But I think they can get up to 6. And that would be good for them. Can they do it? Absolutely. They're only 1.5 games back, and Indiana allows anybody to score. So I see this team being better. They went through a little bit of a slide because Franz was hurt. I think Paolo and Franz will start figuring it out again, and they have a really good defense, solid, with Jalen Suggs and Markelle Fultz, Cole Anthony, and Jonathan Isaac. So I think that overall, I think they can go on a run. Will they? We'll see. We'll have to see. But right now, they're in the 8th seed in the play-in. The last 2 play-in teams, Chicago and Atlanta. What are we doing? Nothing. You're not doing anything. Absolutely nothing. Like the song. Absolutely nothing. No. You ain't doing nothing. This is what your fans are thinking. Nothing. You're treading water of mid. The definition of mid. Absolute mid. Mediocrity at the 9 and 10 seed. Trade DeMar. Trade Levine. Trade Vooch. Keep Kobe White if you want. For Atlanta, trade Trae Young, trade DeJounte Murray, trade Bogdanovich. Just keep Jalen Johnson and start AJ Griffin and move from there. Because right now, it is not looking good for you guys. You guys are going nowhere. Okay, definition of mid. Okay, Brooklyn can't win. Just scores points but can't win. Toronto, treading water. Scotty's a great player, not an all-star this year. Some people say he got snubbed, but he's kind of been on a downturn a little bit. They're 19 games back. It's close, but when I say close, it's not really. Atlanta's 16 games back. Brooklyn can get up there. They're 17 games back, only a game back. You got Toronto 19 games back, so that's 3 games back. That's too much. Charlotte can't win. I like what Brandon Miller's doing. Washington is a dumpster fire. And then Detroit got 6 wins. And I like what Jaden Ivey's doing. They got Cade back. They have to trade Bogdanovich. And Jesus Christ, just let the young boys play. Let Asar play. Let Marcus Sasser play. I think that's what you should do if I'm Detroit. The West, super stacked. From 1 to 4, it's 2 games. That's it. Minnesota, Anthony Edwards is playing great. They still got the number 1 defense in the league. They're 7-3 in their last 10. OKC 6-4 in their last 10. Shea's playing absolutely amazing. So is Chet. J-Dub sat, last game. I think he's gonna be fine. I think it was an ankle. The only reason Minnesota switched above OKC is because they beat them head to head. I think like a day ago or two. So, overall, I think that, you got to see, the Clippers are number 2. The Clippers are number 3, but they're only 2 games behind. Denver is 4, but they're 1.5 games behind. You're like, well, how does that happen? Well, I think it's the head-to-head matchup. So what I think is the Clippers are the strongest team if they're healthy. If they're healthy, I think they're the strongest team. They have championship DNA with Kawhi, championship DNA with Tyronn Lue. I don't have to worry about Kawhi performing in the playoffs. PG knows how to perform in the playoffs. You have a great bench with Norman Powell that could give you 20 off the bench. Terrence Mann. Russell Westbrook is a spark plug and a great floor general for that second unit. So I think that if they stay healthy, they have the coaching and the proper superstars, a good, well-built team. When Zubac comes back, they're really dangerous. My favorite right now is still Denver. Denver's 4, cruising. Nikola playing absolutely amazing. Jamal, smooth. You got Braun. KCP still hitting his shots. MPJ still hitting his shots. Like, everybody's playing great. They have the bench. Michael Malone is a great coach. They have the championship pedigree and championship DNA. So I'm not worried about them at all. A team that might be fool's gold might be that Sacramento team. They're number 5. They're 6 games back. Once it goes 5, 6, the next group is 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm not going to put the Lakers in there. They're 10 games back. So it's Sacramento 6 games back, Phoenix 6 games back, New Orleans 7 games back, and Dallas 8 games back. So if we talk about Sacramento, De'Aaron Fox probably is going to go on a revenge tour, not being named an all-star. So is Domantas Sabonis. I just don't think they have the interior defense necessary to hold up in the playoffs, just like they did last year. Keegan Murray's doing great. So is Malik Monk. So is Kevin Huerter. But I don't think they have the necessary interior defense to stop the likes of, God forbid, an AD, Jokic, Karl Anthony Towns and Rudy Gobert, Zubac, Zion, Valanciunas, Lively. I just don't think they have the proper size in the interior to deal with that. So they're just going to be like the Indiana Pacers. They're going to try to bludgeon you. They're trying to, just outscore you. And I think that in the playoffs, it's not that type of game, We go to the Phoenix Suns at 6. We talked about this before. Two top heavy, made of spare parts. You got 2 superstars, 1 star with Bradley Beal, and then a bunch of spare parts that, include Grayson Allen and Eric Gordon. But after that, you got, Drew Eubanks and Metu, Goodwin, people that spare parts. Okay. And what we're seeing is, Big Perk, Kendrick Perkins said it on First Take this morning and showed a clip. You're seeing Bradley Beal not interested when he's not in the offense. They're not including him in the offense. And what happens is that if it's just your turn, my turn between all 3 of them, once you get to the playoffs and a team can key in on one, remember, a team's going to key in on one team. That's all they got to focus on. There isn't other teams that they got to face or anything like that. They're focusing on one team that round. Same thing with Boston Celtics. Like, Yeah, they're beating a lot of people now, but when they get keyed in on by, a good defensive team, that shit's done. That's wraps. You're going to get the turnovers from Jason Tatum. You're going to get the turnovers from Jaylen Brown. And we don't know what KP is going to do. Derek White's been playing well, but you don't know what he's going to do either. So, looking at the Suns, you're going to need 30 from KD, 30 from Booker, 25 from Beal. And if Beal's not interested and not showing interest on the offensive side of the ball because he's not getting involved, and you see, Drew Eubanks get the ball after getting a pass from Booker, and then instead of looking for Beal, who's open on the wing, no, he passes right back to Booker. Booker takes a contested 2. That's not how offense works. That's not how it's smooth. I don't think it's their year. Maybe next year when they have a full season under their belt, but I don't think it's their year this year. I am very concerned about the Phoenix Suns, and I do not see them making a championship push. New Orleans, this is all going to come down to Zion. If Zion's on the floor, you allow for CJ and BI to do their thing, to play their style of basketball. Without him on the floor, they get keyed in on more defensively, and they're a little bit more easier to guard. Now for Zion, after this year, if it doesn't go as planned, if you guys don't make it deep into the playoffs, or if you guys want a championship and you don't make it close, number one thing in your summer, you go to LeBron, knock on his door, and go, hey, LeBron, I need your routine for your body. And I need it for my weight. And what you're going to do is, instead of being 280, 285, you're going to work your way down to 260 to 255. Right in that threshold right there. You're going to be stronger. You might not think so, but you're going to be stronger, more ripped, and your lateral quickness, because of that lowered amount of 20 pounds of weight, it's going to be less damaging to your tendons, less damaging to your ligaments, and you're going to be able to jump high. You're going to be a lot more energetic. You're going to be able to last on the floor for more than, if they put you out there for 8 minutes, you can last a whole quarter, in the big moments. And you're also going to be able to defend better, because you're going to be able to, how as Kendrick Perkins move those puppies. You know what I'm saying? Because right now you look good, but you're not dominating. You were a number 1 pick. Like, you were supposed to be the next big thing. And you're not doing that right now, and it's hurting your teammates. So if Zion can figure it out, 250, 255, 260, he will be an absolute monster, and this team will be borderline unstoppable with him, because you can't stop him in the paint. Dallas, 8 games back, only 1 game back of 7, 2 games back of 6. Luka's playing out of his mind, okay? 73, he scored 45. He needs Kyrie back. I think he'll be back from that ankle or hand injury. It's one of the two, relatively soon. What you need, the biggest X factor for Dallas, is going to be Lively. Derek Lively is going to be, he's a rookie, but they're going to put the whole defensive rim protection on him. So if he's doing good and rim protecting and being a deterrent, then they can outscore people. If he's not, then the defense is going to fall apart. The perimeter defense is already bad because of Luka and Kyrie being not detriments, but like somewhat liabilities that can get picked on. And they're going to have to lean on, Luka, Kyrie, and Tim Hardaway to carry them offensively in order to offset the defensive inefficiencies. But if Derek Lively, cleans up defensive rebounds, finishes defensive possessions, and creates stops, then this team can actually win the championship just based on pure offensive skill. The Lakers, they're 10 games back. We saw a cryptic, passive-aggressive tweet by Mr. LeBron James. He's done this before. He did it in Cleveland. He did it in Miami. He did it in Cleveland. He's done it in L.A. last year. It was an hourglass. People are speculating, is it an hourglass for some players? Is it an hourglass for Darvin Ham? Because a little clip came out of him looking at Darvin Ham like he didn't want to listen to him. That's how it is in La La Land. You know what I'm saying? Like, when you're not winning, when you're the 10th seed, and you were expected to be a championship contender, and with all the ref calls that you guys get, and, you know, you expect Austin Reeves to be a third option. That clearly hasn't worked. You expect D'Lo to be a third option. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Rory's not pulling his weight. You know, you have Vanderbilt can't score. Neither can Cam Reddish. And you can't do anything trade deadline-wise or anything that can help you. That's what the King is gonna do. He's gonna pout. He's gonna bitch. So it is what it is. You know, and you know, what I hope is either they don't make it to the playoffs at all, or they get absolutely smoked and smacked. You know what I'm saying? So I can laugh my ass off in the first round. Would love that. Got to give props to AD. He's been playing. You know, he hasn't been, sitting down and injured and stuff like that. He's been pretty healthy this year. He's missed like 2-3 games. He's playing great. LeBron has stayed relatively healthy, so they're healthy. They just can't win games. They don't have the requisite amount of scoring. They don't have the requisite amount of spacing for LeBron and AD to be able to maneuver and operate at their highest potential. And that's going to eventually be their downfall. Utah, 10.5 games back. They can pass the Lakers. I like what I see from Keontae George. I like what I'm seeing from Jordan Clarkson, Lauri Markkanen, Colin Sexton. Will Hardy is having this team play really well. He's a good coach. I think they still have to figure out a little bit on the rotation side, whether that's maybe sitting Jordan Clarkson and putting Ochai Agbaji or Keontae George, or starting Keontae George and putting Colin Sexton at the 2. They have to keep playing with that. Walker Kessler's playing well. Got to find a way to fit in Taylor Hendricks. But I like what they have in their team. Do I think they should make moves? Not right now. They have a good young core. Maybe move Jordan Clarkson, but he's kind of like the spark plug for that team, especially off the bench. He's like the microwave scorer. So, you kind of need him, and he's a fan favorite. But I think that they're on the up and up. Now we move to outside the play-in. Houston is 11.5 games back. That's only a game back of 10. All right, guys. I'm making a statement. I know I've said it before kind of loosely and everything. Loosely's done. Jalen Green. You got to go to the bench. You got to go to the bench. That's it. I need Cam Whitmore to start. This kid was supposed to be the 4th pick in the draft. You got him at 20. So you got Amen and him. And he's showing you off the bench that he's a better scorer, attacker, slasher, finisher, and defender than Jalen Green. Start him. You need to start him. He could be your number 1. He could turn into your number 1. Alfred Sengun's your number 1 right now. But he can easily turn into your number 1 if you give him the minutes and you let him be himself. He can shoot the 3 at a better clip, I believe, than Jalen Green. He's a better slasher than Jalen Green. Better finisher than Jalen Green. Stronger. Better defender. Less of a liability. I think that he's just better all around. You need to make the decision that Jalen Green just didn't pan out to who you wanted to be. Maybe move him and start Cam Whitmore. This is coaching malpractice at this point by Ime Udoka. He sees the talent and just does not start it. And he's 11th in the West. Like, what do you got to lose? You know what I'm saying? I think that he'll elevate the ceiling of the team. Golden State is 12. I like what Kuminga's doing. I like, Curry being Curry. Clay is not as efficient as he's supposed to be. Draymond is starting to get back and playing his way. They have a possibility. Okay? Let me repeat. They have a possibility to make it to the play-in. Okay? They can get on a roll if they want. Past Houston, they're only a half game back. They're a game and a half of 10. That's the play-in. They can get all the way to the Lakers that are only 10 games back. So that's 2 games. And if they get on a roll, they can get to 8 or 7, because that's 8, and I get 8 games back, 7 games back. And they can be in the play-in and then work their way into the playoffs. Possibility. Not saying it's going to happen, because right now, the way that they lose and win and lose and win, and they're 3-7 in their last 10, like, it's not looking good. But it's a possibility. If Curry still plays like that, Kuminga takes over the number 2 role, and Klay is semi-efficient. Pachinski's playing well. Trace Jackson-Davis is playing well. But I need Curry to be Curry, and then Kuminga to take that leap to a 25-point-a-game scorer, 8 rebounds, be dominant defending, and then they have a chance. Okay? Moving to the bottom tier, the bottom feeders. Memphis has to start Gigi Jackson. I think that they'll find out that they have a kid there that has potential to be maybe their 4th option, their 3rd option, maybe a 2nd option behind Ja. I think this kid can shoot from the 3. He's long. He can defend. He's competitive. I think that they should just give him more reps. He's the youngest kid in the NBA. He has a skill set. I think that they should start him. They have no Marcus Smart. They have no Derrick Rose. Steven Adams just got traded. I believe he got traded. I'll tell you right now. Excuse me. Steven Adams got traded to the Houston. He's hurt. Whole team. He's hurt the whole year. So I'm not expecting anything from him, but it's a good trade for them. We'll look over it more in detail in the next pod. But Memphis should start Gigi Jackson. For Portland, they just beat Milwaukee in Dame's coming back party from for the first time that he left Portland. He got 25, not a Dame game, of course. They're not winning anything, but I like that Scoot's starting. I like that Scoot is starting to attack. I want Scoot to take a Paolo Banchero-ish, J-Dub-ish last year type of leap in the next 30 games. Try to get a couple of streaks of 20 points a game under him, start to feel like a star, and start showing that number two draft potential that we all have seen, now that he can see, get those shooting splits up, get those assist numbers up. I think that he can do it. I believe that he has the team in order to dish to Anthony Simons, and once Shaedon Sharpe gets back, to be able to for them to score, and he can score too. He looks like a great slasher. He can dunk whenever he wants. He has quick feet on the defensive end. He has to get a little bit better at that, but that comes with time. So I believe that he has a bright future. And then San Antonio, Wemby's playing great. He's playing absolutely amazing. He doesn't have a team to win. He's winning the Rookie of the Year right now. 20 rebounds, 20 points, 10 rebounds, 3 blocks, leading the league. Him and Chet, because Chet's in the second team in the league, it's kind of, but people say it's Wemby right now. So, like I said, the trends that we're seeing, Boston doesn't seem like it can win a championship because of the spray and pray nature of their 3-point shooting, and they can go cold really bad, and they don't adjust. 76ers with Embiid, especially now with the meniscus, I don't think that they are in that window of the championship, and that window is closing now. Milwaukee, Dame and Giannis have to figure it out. They have to figure it out on the offensive side of the ball and on the defensive. Doc Rivers has to figure out the defensive side of the ball. The Lakers are going to make changes, whatever they may be. Miami can't score in the half court. So if we get into the playoffs, it's going to be a war of attrition, just like last year, unless we get hot. The Knicks look scary, but do they have the requisite amount of scoring? We shall see. Cleveland looks like last year, but last year they failed in the playoffs, so we'll see. Indiana has a lot of scoring but can't defend. Orlando's too young. I don't think Bulls make it out of the play-in, and I don't think Atlanta makes it out of the play-in. Minnesota stays at 1. I believe that they still have the best defense in the league. They're just, Anthony Edwards is young, but I believe him in the playoffs. They have a legit shot to do something this year, to go deep in the playoffs. I don't know if they could beat Denver. I don't know if they could beat the Clippers, but I know that they can get past the first round for sure. OKC's dangerous. They're just young, lack of experience in the playoffs. The two most dangerous team is Denver and Clippers by far. The Pelicans need Zion to be Zion in order to get to the promised land. Luka and Kyrie have to basically dominate, and Derek Lively has to be an interior presence on the defensive side of the floor. The Phoenix Suns are too heavy. I don't think that this is their year, and they're probably looking at, what to do and how to be more efficient with Bradley Beal. Golden State can get on a run, but it's probably unlikely because of how tough the West is. Utah, I like what they're doing. They're just really young. Sacramento might be fool's gold. They have to defend. They can score, but they have to defend. Houston might be able to do, but they have to start Cam Whitmore. I think that's a done deal already. And yeah, that's the NBA. We on Tuesday, Monday when I record it, but on Tuesday we're gonna break down the weapons on both sides of the Super Bowl. Wide receivers, running back. We're gonna break down all that. Also, we're gonna break down each unit, coaching, and then Thursday we're gonna do a deep dive into the game, how I think the game will go, and I'll give you my pick for the Super Bowl. Still thinking about it, but I already kind of know who I'm going for, and I think you guys know already too. But, first video, I hope you guys enjoy it. For you guys audio listeners, hop onto YouTube when you can to see the videos. I love you guys. Thank you for everything. This is going to be the Exec Talk with El Velez, formerly known as El Boricua y Parcero Podcast. Find it on all streaming platforms. Like and subscribe. Hit the notification bell to get all the notifications when I post. I love you guys, and I'll leave you with the outro.